Hello, welcome to Arc Dragon Blade channel. I'm going to show you the video. It's not a gaming video. This time we're doing maintenance on your PS4 Pro or Slim. This will give you like roughly a base idea. This is a PS4 Pro. So pretty much like all console units or wherever you go take things apart. Have a clean setup. Make sure you have all your screws and drivers and etc. Just make sure you have everything placed properly, because it's going to be a long process. Besides that, take pictures, because if your memory's not great, I highly recommend take pictures or film what you're doing. Do a little recording, see where you're at, what process you gotta go through. Everyone have their own method to process and take your time going through it. You could be fast, you could be slow. As long as you know what you're doing and take your time at it, it'll be fine. You have your own right to repair the PS4 or whatever. You have the right to repair your own equipment. You paid for it, it's yours. You want someone else to fix it? Let them do it. For me, I'm using a dull, flat, a very dull knife, because I don't have the properly tools. So I'm showing you, if you don't have all the tools in the trade, you just work what you got and roll with it. So I'm using a flathead screwdriver to get out the security screw. And I'm probably get some more light so you guys can see it. But even this lighting, you can see that little screw right there with the security screw, whatever you want to call them. So I had to use a flathead kind of wedge it between the start point and the nipple in the middle, and kind of wedge it into it and then turn it. And it does work. Sometimes you might break out the nipple and you could use a standard Torx screw head, and then you could take that off pretty easily after that, because the nipple is not really strong, but sometimes they're strong enough and you have to use a flathead. This will slow you down if you don't have the proper tools, but you kind of problem solving around it. So after you figure that out, you go ahead to take things up. Well, you're gonna take it apart regardless. I don't know what I'm doing here, but oh yeah, I'm adjusting the camera so give you guys a better view. So I'm showing you how to just wiggle it and just kind of finesse it. After you get the screw holes, or the security screw head, it does take a moment to do. This process took a little bit longer than expected, but eventually you will get it out and move the next process. Pretty much try to unclip the whole side off, because everything is pressed in, never been open on the bottom yet. So you just get a dull flat knife and start working around the edges, because if you have something fresh sharp blade, you will scar into the plastic. So like I say, take your time, no rush. Just kind not really brute force it, just kind of finesse it in there between the latching of the plastic piece in between together. Like I say, you're like I'm peeling a sandwich. But just take a little moment, finesse it, wiggle it, put some pressure on it. Don't stab the holy crap out of it. Kind of gotta wedge it, and then start to unpeel stuff after you pull off the tabs each side. For me, I'm just taking any more screw holes underneath those rubber dings, but they don't. So we kind of finesse it, like I say. Get your fingers in it, try to lift up the tabs. This one is really tedious and take a moment. So like I say, kind of wiggle in there, and take your time at it. Here you go, find out more of the goddamn security screws. So, like I said, get a flat head and kind of wedge it between the nipple and the two start points. And you just take your time, you know, unscrewing it. If the nipple broke, like I said earlier, this is when you get your typical torques in there. I think it's a T2, 3, something like that. I think it's a T8, something like that. It's a small torque. So after you broke that nipple off, it's a lot easier to take them off. But like I say, you had to. It's a little tedious part of this video because I had to, like I say, speed this up because it took about solid like 10 minutes, something like that. So yeah, you could. When I started unscrewing it, some of it broke off, so I started changing some of the headpiece here and there. Change that screw to torque to flathead. It's a tedious. After you break them off, next time maintenance, if you need to go back in there or whatever, or do any mods, it's easier. And I already noticed about this PS4, it's dirty inside already. You can see that little dot on your right side of the corner. It's telling me this heatsink is probably plugged. And my experience is, I work with a lot of horrible PS4. I show you what Cliff looked like. It is disgusting. Well, you go see, you know, how disgusting it's gonna be. Just a little sweep off here and there. Make sure you take off the little antennas. Take your time at it. Don't rip them off. If you rip them off, that's more work for you. Like I say, patience. See, I'm switching back and forth. That's, you know, the screws, flatten, torques. So pretty much I'm just tearing it down. And I will go explain what I was talking about here. I know I'm pretty that I ripped the nipple off on the torques. Or I mean this security screw. Take off those little tabs off, take your time. You don't want to rip it. Especially unplug all the fans. The sink, what was it? I think it's one of the sensors for opening and closing the, or I meant ejecting the disc out. So, like I say, look around, take your time. If you have trouble opening it and stuff, just, you know, pry a little bit, figure out what's keeping it together. Because after that, you have to pop the top off now. It's really just clip on, really. It just gave me a little issue because this is the first time it's gonna be popped off. Because this PS4 Pro had not been touched till my grubby little hand on it. And so he'd been cleaning on top of it, but not the bottom. Not at all. So at least he cleaned most of it on top. But still, right behind that fan, that's where the heatsink at right there. So make sure you had to, like I say, you had to dig deep, get in between the layers of this sandwich. You're disassemble a sandwich. That's what this PS4 is. It's basically you got the bottom part, basically the cells of bread, and you're getting the lettuce and the tomatoes, and you're going for the juicy meat inside. So you're just, like I say, take the screws, take your time, because the power supply is a little pain in the ass to take off because they have two little the little forks in there, and you have to unplug the, I think that's a 5 and 3 volt line right there too, or the single cable till it turn on. But right there, I try to see how plug is it, and I notice I don't see any light going through the heatsink, and I know it's pretty bad. So I'm gonna clear out my, you know, my little table there. Try to figure what to do. And I'm gonna have to go balls deep in this one. Because my experience, like it tell me, it's like, great. This is gonna be very disgusting when I get to it. So I'll continue unscrewing all the screws. I think it's like maybe about 40-50 screws, maybe more, maybe 80. But keep track where where you're screwing, where the little arrows, the little triangles tell you where the screw holes is and stuff. It will have on the metal shield right there. It will have little triangles where the screw points are. Got one for the case, and got one for the holding the motherboard and the metal case as well. So after I think I was trying to figure out what else is holding it up, and of course I missed one. So like I say, take your time, no rush. When you start disassembling all the screws and stuff, make sure when you lift up the plate, because underneath that plate is thermal pads. You want to take your time at it, just a little wiggle, just a little, make sure all the wires out of the way, gently pull it off, because you do not want to rip those thermal pads. If you do, they cannot take the heat between the RAM to the plate, keep them cool. If you do rip them, make sure you have replacements. If you rip them, you cannot really band-aid fix them. You could try using thermal paste, just fill in the crack and put it back on, but I recommend not, because it only lasts like a year. I already done that before, so just give you guys heads up, don't do it. If you do need to do a pinch and you buy thermal paste, you want to game now, okay, that's up to you. But like I say, don't. You just take your thermal paste off the RAM tips, just put off the side, and then you get the pressure plate off now. Then this one is their standard Phillips screws in there, so there's no security screw on this one. So just put pressure on the plate, so you won't screw up the threading on the thing. I usually take my time with this part. Like, I don't need, go balls deep in it. Like, oh, let me just rip this off and stuff. For me, I'm more like pencil, neat freak. Make sure everything is, make sure everything looks good. See, I'm just taking my time, saying, look, this look good. Just kind of wiggle it, because you have more thermal pads underneath it. You see that little the little power, I think that's a power thing, and then the thermal paste it's a little not really gooey, it's kind of dry, so the thermal paste need to be replaced anyway. So these, you will see the thermal pads right there, and then you got a couple more screws you gotta go through. So you just take your time and work on it. It's no rush, like I say, just a little cleaning here and there, but more likely I had to wash this. It looked kind of grungy. I'm just making sure everything looked good, make sure that the thermal pad's not sticking on, it probably need to be cleaning, because some of it does look dusty. And I kind of checking, make sure it does fit over those power delivering system, or I think that power delivery to the process. Can't remember the exact name on it, but I'll just take my time, peel them off, make sure it does go there. And this is my little pet peeve, make sure everything goes where to go. So it's a little sanity check for me, because this is actually my first time working on a Pro. So just start peeling them off, take my time, there's no rush, because I don't rip them, because some did stick really hard on them. It's like, after this one's a used, he told me, I think he did tell me that it's used, got it for a good price, but it started getting louder, and you have the booting it, it turns itself off after a certain amount of hours, and when you turn it on, it's already go full fan speed. So we'll go take a look, how bad is it. So I think I found some more dust and grime in between. Yeah, like I say, if you want to clean a motherboard, I recommend with alcohol or brake cleaner. Not a very aggressive brake cleaner, but brake cleaner from your AutoZone, Pep Boys, or Rally will actually clean up the motherboard. If you have alcohol, use that too, it works. If you want to clean out the motherboard. So moving on, and then next phase, let's get more of the screws off. And they'll probably be well torqued in there, you might have to get a little, not too aggressive, but like I said, it's the first time you open it, they'll all be snug and tight. So, like I say, patience is the key, just roll with it. So, yeah, just continue taking the screws off. Now, let's see what we got underneath this lovely heatsink here. See, just take your time, make sure the wires move out of the way. When I look at it, it's like, and there it is. Maybe peel this nastiness. Sorry, my camera angle, but when I start peeling and tilt it down, you could see how thick that is. All that nasty, disgusting buildup. This is what everybody used. He cleaned the top. He didn't clean, deep inside the heart of the heatsink. Because when you do laundry, you get that dust collecting filter. Same thing happened to your PS4 Pro or your standard PS4. So, or any airflow going through a console. PC's not that bad. You could see it because if you have a glass window, like mine does, it's a lot easier to clean. You just go, oh, it's a little dirty, make it a can air blowout. On a PS4 or a console, you had to dig in deep. And I think I invite my brother to take a look at it. You can see that other pair of legs over there. But it's like, it's so disgusting. Like, hey, take a look at this. He's like, ew. Do you wear a glove? No, we don't have any glove. So it was really grungy. So my next option is, since it's so grungy and disgusting, and then hear me just sweep it up and see how really nasty it is, and peel up this gunk, and it's really built up in there. It's like you had to dig in there. Like, yeah, see, it's like, ugh. Yeah, this is what happens. You don't maintenace or get a can of air blow behind a power supply, blow that shit out. But yeah, it's disgusting. So my next, yeah, look at that. Make your skin crawl. Do I make you feel a little cringe there? Yeah. Holding it didn't feel right. It's like fluffy. It's a fluffy, heavy mass of disgustingness. And that's, no, hold on, I kind of dropped the tape measure almost. So we're looking at 4.5-ish. Yeah, that's pretty how big your heatsink, and man, that whole dang was nearly plugged. Look at that. That's a 4 and a little plus half, I should say. Maybe 3/4, yeah. 4 inches and some plus, yeah, about 3 3/4. Yeah, you can see, hear me try measure out this disgusting. It's already falling apart. Like, it's not. Remember, part of it broke. That's mostly your heatsink getting plugged up. So, the next phase I'm gonna have to gather all this part, and go move it off the side, and then go dig deeper, because I need to probably clean up fan. I'm looking at it and see, I probably need to clean the fan shroud next. So I think I'm going to the next phase and gather all the parts up. I got like a flashlight looking more deeper, and I'm like, yeah, I had to take things apart even further. So now we'll go ahead and take the fan apart, moving from the clutch of the case now. And then move these guys off the side for washing, because I don't have enough alcohol to wash all this. So I'm gonna move all the thermal pads off of it, put it off the side. So I'm gonna do my next phase of cleaning. Now moving to the next phase. Now I'm gonna have to take the fan out. So standard Phillips screwdriver, make sure everything look okay, doesn't look cracked or damaged, because you might have, if it does look damaged in the case somewhere in there, you could fix it up with super glue or whatever. But in this case here, it just need take everything apart and clean the holy shit out of it. It's not pretty, but you gotta have to take everything apart. I mean, since you see that nasty, lovely fluff ball of you had to clean the whole case, internal, the motherboard, everything. Motherboard had to clean separately. You had to use other like alcohol or brake cleaner will clean out the rest. And the fan blades, you probably had to use a toothbrush, but it doesn't look too bad. But the shroud inside of it look kind of, you can see that it's not black. You see the build up around the case inside the shroud there. So we'll go ahead and get like a damp sponge and wipe it off clean. So the next phase. Yep, good old soap and water. Clean the holy shit out of it. And I have a little sponge. Just affects that whole crap. It really needs it. Basically, I'm doing like a factory restore. At least I put some, copper in it. If you want to use like a better cooling solution, like a better thermal paste. You could also use what is that, the liquid metal, I forgot, like grizzly thermal cooling solution, whatever you want to call those. I can't remember the back of my head, but if you want to use that, it's copper on the bottom. So make sure you make sure no aluminum heatsink on it or whatever. See, I really had to clean this unit. It is grungy, and basically I'm making factory restore cleaning. And with my tiny little sink. But get the job done. To speed through this, well, hell, I speed through this a lot, because this took a while to clean. So after I clean every little thing, we'll go next phase. Here I am using a torch to, accelerate the drying time, because I'm out can of air. So I'm gonna let heat soak on it, so it could natural drying itself. Make sure it's plenty heat soak around the heatsink, between the plate and the heatsink, because there's still water underneath. You can see the heatsink absorbing a lot of heat under my torch, and it's doing the job like how heatsink supposed to do, transfer the heat from the process to the air, cool it back down. Right now it's kind of toasty to the touch, but I want to make sure it's really heat saturated, so it could naturally dry pretty quickly. So this, like I say, take your time, don't rush this part of the phase. You don't want water dripping on your motherboard and cause it to, short out. Because patience is the key. Just do your dang and just roll with it. And it's not too hot, you know, burning my hand, but you can feel the heat soaking up. So I'm not gonna blow any air in it because it'll cool back down. So, but look at that. Look, you can see right through it. See, you can see right through the heatsink like you're supposed to. No dust, no grime, no type of nastiness. So, got 3 heat pipes. So it's, you know, supposedly what it do. Cool down the the GPU, or is it APU? No, it's an APU, I think. I can't get the CPUs and GPU all mixed up with the APU. Is console's the APU. But I'm just, you know, a little more heat soak. Make sure I get all the water out of it. And this part does take time and patience. So like I say, if you don't have a can of air or compressed air, whatever you want to use, this will work too if you have, you know, a little torch. Just take your time, let it heat soak so it could dry out between the plate and the heatsink where they connect together. So after I make sure it's, you know, well toasty, not too hot, but just, you know, a little bit more heat on it till it feel, you know, not hot to the touch, but you know, you could put your hand and feel a little uncomfortable type of feel. So you know you put a lot of heat until you just heat saturate it. So after this, we're gonna move on to the next phase. Cleaning and wiping the inner core of the PS4 Pro. I don't feel like putting this in water, but you just get a wet, damp sponge and clean best I can through the whole inner shroud, the core of the PS4. Because I don't feel like taking all the wire off and then put it back together. Just a little bit too time consuming. Besides that, the upload disk drive or the CD-ROM, whatever you want to call it, the Blu-ray drive, I don't feel like taking that apart and going any more deeper. It's the only need to go clean up the heatsink. The other important parts need to keep, you know, the APU cool. So here I just got like a damp sponge and a microfiber rag. It just clean around the edge of the intake and all the vents, you know, or all the air intake on the side. How this PS4 Pro design, or I should say every PlayStation 4 series, I should say, they'll have the side vent take the air from the side and tunnel through the intake of the PS4, well, that little hole you see, and then to the heatsink, to the power brick, and out. I do not like the power brick being cooled by the heatsink, but it's their design, and I don't like it. I don't agree with it. Because it's supposed to breathe in cool air, not hot air from the APU for the power supply. It just, I don't know why they done it, but I don't know. It's their design. It probably quote unquote help it cool down the heat, you know, the power breakdown somehow. I don't know how. But moving on, my little gripe about, you know, their design taste. Pretty much, like I said, just go every nook and cranny on the inner core of the PS4 Pro. Make sure all the dust and lint is not, you know, in the side vents or the intake vents. So this part, you gotta take your time, make sure you get every nook and cranny of it, because you're not sticking in water. Because I don't feel like take the Blu-ray drive out. So I'll probably go speed this thing through, and I will tell you the next phase of, you know, put it back together. And I left some clip about me cleaning the fan, because it's a little tedious, but you get the idea, you know, me cleaning the fan by the toothbrush, but because I missed some spot earlier, but usually a Q-tip and a paper towel, soak it with alcohol a little bit and just scrub it away, or you could use, you know, soap and water, but on a rag, as to say, or a paper towel, make it damp, and then clean that way. You don't want to really get the fan motor, you know, soaked with water. A toothbrush will work too, to scrub over, make it look clean. And we're in this phase, finally put things together. After, you know, a few hours of drying time, everything looked good, everything feel dry, the heatsink feel cool now. Everything is dried off, because I don't have a can of air, I had to do the slow way. But the slow way works, you know. Make sure everything fit, alignment good. This basically, you're doing backwards. Make sure all the wires, everything is set in place. Take your time. Just wiggling things in. If it doesn't want to go in, just you know, jerking around, wiggling around. Take your time. Make sure all the antennas and receivers, everything, all the little, you know, connects for the to the motherboard, to, you know, the fan, the Blu-ray ROM, and etc. Like I say, just edit this part. If you didn't have a camera or take a picture of it, you might get yourself lost and you might miss a screw or two. But if you miss one or two screws, you're in the okay, but it's not recommended. Because you're like, where this screw came from? Oh shit. You don't want to be in that range. You just want to make sure you take pictures. Pictures support the thing. If you don't have picture memory. Like, I do have some picture memory. If I take things apart, I make sure I put things back together. If I miss it or I have one screw extra, I will go back and do over again, because it kind of irritates me. But and this time around, the Pro, since I take a lot of things apart, put it back together, it doesn't really bother me, because I already know what to do. I already know the steps are, and how I divide my little screw tray, like a pie system. How I take things apart, put in a tray in each section of the tray, and when I put it back together, I start working backwards after that. Get the good old rubbing alcohol, because we're going to clean the thermal pads. And the heatsink, of course, and the APU. And just go ahead and clean out all the lovely dry powdery. It's not too powdery. The center of it was very dry. The outer of, you work way out of it, it started to get gooey. So the thermal paste is reaching, well, because it was so plugged up, it started cooking the thermal paste. So the more the central piece of it was dry, and I'm using paper towel, just, you know, lightly working in there. Don't really pull or tug at it, because there is a little resistors in the APU. So this is when you you know, pace yourself, get into the nook and cranny, just clean out the excess thermal paste on it the factory left on. And sorry the camera angle's not all that great, because I had to take a closer look and then show it to you guys. Like, see, you know, doing a good job cleaning it. And I'm kind of folding the paper towel, make a little, like, a small, like, a little toothpick feel to it, because I kind of roll my paper towel, just really working the side of it, make sure I get all the old thermal paste out. Yes, this part is more tedious and it does take time, but patience is a virtue. And, you know, better your end game, or when you put more time into it, the better end game will be, or at the end it'll probably be better, I should say. somewhat. I don't know, I'm just rambling. But this is one of my other pet peeves. Just make things look clean, and you don't have excess, sticking around and not interfering with the other thermal paste and stuff. It doesn't really matter. That's me, how I like to keep things neat and clean and mint condition. That's how I am. I'm kind of anal about that type of stuff. It's like I could put a blast of new thermal paste and slap it on there, but no, I had to clean the APU all around and get a toothpick and clean it best I can. And I'm just folding the paper towel multiple times and get the alcohol, wipe it really good in there. Let it soak in. Get the stuff done. Because I'm really particular about cleaning any process or any type of CPU, GPU, or APU for console. I will take my time cleaning it, because this is my pet peeve. It's always it's my dang, it's my maybe an OCD, whatever you want to call it. I had to clean it. See, look, it looked better already. Clean around the edges now, and we'll go work on the process. After I was continuing cleaning and wiping things down, I noticed this thermal pad started to split on me. It started cracking, splitting, and I'm like, I guess I had to replace this one. So, good thing I salvaged a lot of PS3 parts, because it started slowly split right there in the middle. That usually is no good. No bueno. We're like, no. That was not good. So we'll go ahead and replace that, because I'm not doing my band-aid fix. I want to make sure I replace it and make sure it go run like new, because I have collecting a lot of thermal paste from other broken PS3, 4s, and when I do get parts like someone just throw away, I do salvage a lot of stuff from other consoles. So I'm just grabbing my spare thermal pads, and I think we're on the big one, so I'm gonna have to cut and fit one of the, because this one's a little meaty. So I'm gonna grab one of my thermal pads, see which one match up to that size or thickness. So I'm just do an eyeball measurement. This one is, I think that one might work, maybe, because this one's really, yeah, I think this one's best rip on me. So I'm gonna go ahead and use that one, and oop, let's drop that one down. Get like a size, see how much I need to cut it off. Get my dull knife, because all you guys do is just do like a pressure cut. So I'm using this, the back of APU pressure plate as a cutting board. Because I'm not gonna do a quick slice. No, I just use a pressure cut. Just push down, roll into it, roll back and forth, make sure it's a clean cut, and put the excess back. Always keep the extra thermal pads around. If I had to cut and make it fit in size, I will do it. I'm not doing that same mistake I did with my PS3. That's like, put thermal paste to be fine. 1 year later, the RAM tip burned out on me. I'm like, there go my PS3. What a sad day for me that was. So go ahead and put the other stuff back in, and replace the thermal pad. Probably clean it with alcohol wipe on it. So I don't have to worry about, fuck it. So clean this up, wipe it clean, and then we move on after that. Now we're starting to put the final touches. Get some silver Arctic 5 and put a nice fat bead on that, because I'm not gonna hold back. Put thermal paste on it. I want to make sure it's well evenly coated. Yeah, it's a thick bright bead going through it. You could put a little small one. Nah, I want to make sure it's fully covered, especially, you know, this one's got plugged, so I want to make sure it's well saturated. And you kind of want to put it at an angle, because how the back of the motherboard is, how the mounting bracket is, it's like, it's kind of weird how the HMI port have this weird little C of the plate was, so I had to come in an angle, make sure all the wires, everything's out of the way. So I'm gonna get everything to final, you know, push down and make sure everything's set to go. Get a little push, and then just make sure all the wires supposed to go where it's supposed to. Make sure it doesn't feel not tight or something in kind or bind. This is when, you know, this is the start the ending process. Get everything together, make sure everything mint condition, factory store, done. After that, you just go ahead, put down the pressure plate back on, even pressure. That's how I usually do it. I just rather do even pressure, get things done. That's how I roll. So I want to make sure it's good and snug, not like you had to tight so hard it stripped out the Phillips head screws. No, you just need to tight enough, because thermal expansion and contraction, and plus it's not going to be moving that much, so snug enough is good enough. And now we're going to put this back on. All the thermal pads are clean, so make sure all the RAM chip is clean. A little rubbing alcohol was on it, and let's go ahead, set it on, make sure everything's not in the way, and put in place. And make sure you double check, make sure the wires out of the way, and we move on after that. Like some wires not supposed to be, so I had to reroute some of the wires around and put it back on. And continue moving on, putting everything together. Just route the wires, make sure you put everything back in order. This is usually the tedious part after you take things apart. So, like I say, take your time, no rush, and make sure all the plugs and drives and everything's connected to the motherboard. Because taking apart is easy, you gotta just make sure everything's plugged in. Every little sensors and connected to the motherboard. Fans plugged in, everything look good. Flip around, make sure everything's seeming okay. Start screwing back together. After this point, you're in the home stretch, just put things together. You're pretty much done. This is pretty much a video show you how to take apart, or give you kind of guidelines what you should do and what you should not do. So like I say, this is a simple new little video for my channel. Usually I play games, but I like doing this type of stuff, doing like mods, maintenance, take things apart. That's kind of my forte pretty much. Probably might do like cars and a few other things besides not doing straight up gaming channel. I'm doing a flexible channel. Like, you want to watch games on my channel? Cool. You want to watch how to do projects? Okay, I could do that too. I'm not gonna make it a straight up gaming channel, so this is a entirely different video. This is show you how to put things apart, take your time at it, and make sure you know you put everything together and test after you're done with it. and how to get around things and stuff. And don't worry about that thermal pad. That's an old rip one right there. So it didn't came off the plate. So at the end, you have a finished product, well maintained unit, I should say, for a PS4 Pro. As my first time working on it, and so far, my friend had no complaint about it. He just happy it's quiet before he left his job. So hope you enjoyed this video, and Raul, if you saw this video, just go ahead and give me a thumb up how messy that shit was. This is our Dragon Blade signing off. Hope you all have a good day. Y'all take care.